What is up, guys? It is KikiZilla101 here yet again, and welcome back to Kiki and Coffee, the show where we casually talk about stuff and put in as minimal effort as possible while we drink coffee. So grab your coffee, tea, and other preferred beverage, and let's get straight to the video. That's some good coffee. Kind of conserving because I'm recording 4 of these videos. But we are finally now onto our second adult collectors video. CollectA. What an interesting company for me. I did not even know about CollectA until I want to say around 2015, when I started watching Bionicle Source's YouTube channel and saw his reviews of some of the CollectA stuff. That's probably when I found out about CollectA. They did make an immediate impression, but they were harder to get here in the US than some Safari stuff, and not a lot of them caught my eye instantly. However, that all changed in 2016 when I saw this get revealed as a new product. And for some reason, despite I still think this figure has issues, and I agree with every criticism this figure gets thrown at it. It definitely has some accuracy issues and whatnot, but this thing makes such a striking appearance. This is the CollectA 2016 Torvosaurus. It is a beautiful figure. And still to this day, whenever I have the thought, or my friends, or somebody probes the idea into my mind, if you could only have one figure from your collection, which one would it be? And for the longest time, for some reason, for some unknown reason, I don't even know if this would actually be my final answer, but for some reason my brain always immediately jumped to that figure. And I don't know why. It's such a beautiful figure, it makes such an immediate impression, but it does have a lot of flaws. And there's a lot of other figures I'm really sentimental towards. There's other figures I've spent more time with. There's other figures I've spent more money on. There's other figures I think I'd even like more than this one. But my brain always went to this one. And it may have something to do with the hype train. I was wanting this thing ever since 2015, because that's when the 2016 reveals for or when the figures for 2016 were revealed, was actually in 2015. Ever since 2015, I wanted this thing, and I didn't get it until 2018. If I can find the video, I'll put it up in the top right corner right now. But yeah, it impressed me immensely. But so many other figures I've been really excited for, like this one. I mean, to be fair, none of them had quite this long of a hype train. None of them ever held up as well as this one does. But it does. I don't know, I still can't quite figure it out. CollectA makes amazing models. They're always incorporating really speculative features, such as quills on ceratopsians. I have always personally preferred Safari ceratopsians overall. However, one thing I've always wished that Safari would do, that CollectA does, and I like better about CollectA, is that they add in the speculative quills. I just always thought it looked really cool. At this current day, I think I'd probably stick with no quills on their ceratopsians. It's probably more accurate. But for a long time, I really wished that they did the quills, and I thought it was a really nice style to add that in. CollectA hasn't really done a ceratopsian in a while, besides their Protoceratops, so I'd really like to see a new one. But they're always on top of stuff, they're always adding in speculative features, they're always trying to keep their figures as up-to-date as possible. They jumped on this new Spinosaurus reconstruction from 2014, like almost instantly. And they also make just really interesting figures, like these corpses. And these are some of my favorites of my CollectA collection. Honestly, these things, I love them more than some of these figures on this table. These are really cool, even though these are really outdated reconstructions of some of their old figures. The corpses are just really high quality and really well made. And they make really great display pieces. I always have this Triceratops underneath the T-Rex as it's roaring, and I have the Stegosaurus underneath the Torvosaurus as he is guarding his kill. They are really always on top of their accuracy stuff. They're not always perfect. They have their issues. I think in particular one common issue that's that CollectA has a lot is their legs. A lot of times their limbs do have some issues. In particular, their feet, but sometimes there are some calf issues and stuff like that with some misproportioned stuff, or even slightly enlarged feet occasionally. But usually, CollectA doesn't really have that issue because they actually incorporate bases pretty consistently, which a lot of people don't like, and in particular for children. A lot of children don't really like the idea of the ground moving with their figure. But as adult collectors, I think a lot of us really value it, because even if you can get your figure to stand up on 2 feet, it's not always guaranteed it's going to be really stable. And so if you can do a base, it makes it just so much more consistent. You don't have to worry about it. And sometimes they can really add a lot to your figure. I mean, for this Dinokairos and the Torvosaurus, their bases are very smooth and not really interesting. But for newer ones like this Fuki Raptor and the Fuki Raptor and this Carnotaurus, they have really well detailed bases. So detailed, in fact, it's almost a shame that they don't paint these ones, because there's some really cool leaves and stuff on them, which would be nice if they had some subtle paint work to that. Actually, recently I was talking to my friends, and if you guys look at the promo pictures for the Bai Shang Long, I think from 2016, you can see just how cool the bases would look with paint on them. They do occasionally do bipedal theropods with just standing on 2 legs and no bases, like this Roaring Rex, and they nail it. I mean, this thing doesn't fall over easily. I can actually flick it and it won't fall over. I'm not going to flick it now because I actually have boxes stacked up which are teetering, so that will fall over. But the figure won't, unless the structure underneath it will. They make they have a very distinct style. They're always really colorful, which is always really nice because they're always ahead of the game in terms of coloration, even sometimes to the point where it's criticized. And I understand the criticism with something like this T-Rex has a lot of this aqua green, which always also runs onto the neck. But this is also by far the least colorful of all of their Tyrannosaurus models, and also the most accurate. The proportions are extremely well done, and the feathering is a minimal amount, which now we do steer towards the idea that T-Rex probably wasn't fully covered in feathers. But in general, they also go for really obscure species. There are other companies like Safari Ltd. and actually Schleich has impressed me with some of the obscure stuff they went for, and occasionally Patbo will pull out a cool one like Tupperwara, but then again they will stop selling that one because, quote, nobody can say its name. So we don't really know how committed they are to that, but Safari and CollectA definitely do that a lot, and I think CollectA's been ahead of the game for a long time. They've always been incorporating really interesting genuses that are completely new to me. I mean, both of these two, Fukisaurus and Fukiraptor, I already knew about, so I don't really think I have any genuses here that I own that I discovered through them. But there are figures that I have discovered through them. They also, with their 1/40th scale deluxe range, they also give you these 1/40th scale paleontologists to come with them. I have one for my T-Rex and my Torvosaurus. I decided just to get one of them, with the one with the Carnotaurus. And it's really cool, and it adds a lot to them, even though a lot of the time it's not accurate, because that Carnotaurus is way bigger than 1/40th scale, and human would be a lot larger in comparison to the Carnotaurus there. And also this Dinokairos is a little undersized, which is one of my biggest issues with this figure. I really love this figure, but I really wish it was larger so it actually captured the proper size of Dinokairos a little bit more accurately. But they also do a lot of really cool stuff which we haven't seen from other figures or other companies, which is multiple poses of a similar sculpt. Now they usually only do this with their really popular sculpts or genuses, like Tyrannosaurus, they have a bunch of them. Spinosaurus, they have a bunch. They're getting into Mapusaurus and trying to do that. So there are just a couple that they're doing it, but it is still something that we don't really see with other companies, and it would be really nice. Like in particular, Safari Ltd, their 2019 Pteranodon. As much as there's other issues I have with that figure, I would really like a flying version of that one. So if they released a sitting and a flying version, that would be awesome. And even better, I adore their Quetzalcoatlus. I think their Quetzalcoatlus is beautiful. If they could get a sitting or standing version of that, I would love that. It would be really cool if they could have a couple of these things with more extreme poses, if they could just give us another variant of it, so we can still have that really extreme pose if we want to, but also something that maybe is more appealing to a wider audience. Another one in particular is the Spinosaurus from 2019 from Safari. That one has a really extreme swimming pose. I'm not a fan of it. That's the biggest turnoff of it for me. A lot of other people feel the same. And if it was posed differently, I'm sure a lot more people would buy it. This is an issue that CollectA has gotten over. When they want to do something really bold with one of their more popular genuses, they make multiple versions of it. And things like Mapusaurus. They wanted to do a more bold pose with it, so they made another one. And I really am excited about that. And even some of them have just straight up sized down variants. So if you're not really into the big Dino-Kairos figure, you can get the smaller one. There's a smaller version of it. So now, while some of these things might be criticized from some people as they might be like taking up another slot in the roster from that year, I see it as a positive, because the CollectA is one of the companies that I am really, like, almost 100% sure digitally sculpts their models. Which means that they can reuse their models and repose them, and it means it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot more efficient, and so they're actually probably just adding more onto the roster because of the fact they can use a model again. So you're actually probably getting more figures, not less, because of the fact that they're able to reuse sculpts like that. And it also just gives you options for getting really cool poses. Like this, I never would even have one of these Spinosaurus designs because I didn't really care for the small walking one, and I didn't really care for the big deluxe one. I thought the articulated jaw was pretty poorly done. But this swimming pose one is really cool, and so I own this one. So that's another way that they got some money out of me, and it's a really intelligent way to do it as a company. So CollectA really takes part in a lot of really creative ways of selling their figures. They're always on top of their accuracy, and they just have really interesting like niche type figures that you really don't see in these more common, I want to say, toy scale companies. There's a lot of other companies out there. I don't want to make this comparison because I don't like Rebor, but like Rebor, for instance, they make a lot of things like dead animals and stuff like that in sets. You have like things like Nanmu and other things. There's a lot of other obscure, more adult collector geared companies that will have these more individual niche things, or even like Beast of the Mesozoic will have a lot of more niche figures and stuff that are not just a normal thing. But CollectA is one of the few like more affordable and I guess toy level stuff. And by toy level I mean that they're really affordable, so kids can have them. They're usually child safe. And CollectA is like the only company that actually really dives into that kind of stuff, which is really cool. And that's one thing I really love about them. And unfortunately, what you're looking at here on this this table isn't lacking in diversity because I just grabbed the wrong ones. It's lacking in diversity because I don't own that many CollectA figures, and this is most of them. I just have a couple other, I have like 4 or 5 other small CollectA figures up on the shelf. And that's unfortunate, but I am really trying to work hard to get myself more CollectA figures. I really love CollectA. I want to collect more of their stuff, and I hope that this will be a lot more diverse next time we end up talking about them, if we do. So yeah, I can't recommend you guys buying them enough. They're very affordable, they're very high quality, and they offer some very, very unique choices for model collecting. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.